Elon released a brand new image generator on X that has almost no restrictions. I have some runway secrets from one of the best AI video creators in the world. You have a chance at winning over $5,000 in prize money. This is your AI film news of the week. Before we get going, I want to say thank you to Google for inviting Shelby and I to speak with their team this last week. And another special shout out to the Pika Labs team for hosting an awesome LA meetup. Okay, let's get to it. We're going to kick things off with some big news from X. As you probably heard, you now have the ability to generate images directly inside of X, as long as you are a Premium or Premium Plus subscriber. To create an image inside of Twitter, all you have to do is go to the Grok button and then type in a prompt. We'll say, create an image of a dog at the beach. And the cool thing is, this is similar to ChatGPT, so you actually have the ability to ask questions and have this multimodal experience. It's not just an image creator alone. So there you go. Now we have an image of a dog at the beach. Now, the technology that's powering this image generator is Flux, which we talked about last week. Now, this image generator is really interesting for multiple reasons. The first is it's really fast. So we can say, create an image of a dog at the beach eating ice cream. And it creates this image in just a few seconds. So if you're used to slow render times in other image generators, you're not going to find those on this platform. And we have this shot of this dog eating ice cream. I don't know where the person would be sitting. I guess they're kind of sitting off to the side, but the dog is eating some ice cream at the beach. It's also pretty darn good at adhering to prompts. So we have a prompt of a man holding a red sign that says chicken nuggets while wearing a chicken suit. So there we go. And you can see he actually has the appropriate number of fingers, so not too shabby. We can do a minimal and modern logo for an AI filmmaking school called Curious Refuge. You can see that it almost got the text right. It did an okay job, but as you can see, it's not perfect. And finally, we have a cinematic still of a man drinking iced tea in Los Angeles, shot on an IMAX camera, muted color grading. And we have this shot here, which is pretty good. But if you were actually working on a film project and you wanted to, let's say, do a reverse shot with a different character, it's going to be very challenging to do that inside of the Grok image generator. So for example, we could say a cinematic still of a woman at a cafe in Los Angeles, shot on an IMAX camera, muted color grading, and let's just pretend like we're trying to do the reverse shot here. And you can see we have the shot here, which is interesting, but it looks like she's in a completely different cafe and like it was shot on a completely different camera. So consistency is pretty tricky. Now, we have seen some pretty cool examples of people taking these images from X and integrating them into Runway Gen 3. So we have this example from Alex G. New Media of basically this woman and the camera kind of tracks close to her. And you can see that the character consistency and the parallaxing looks pretty darn good. We also have this shot from Blaine Brown of basically hippos walking around a college campus to study the hippocampus, which I think is a fantastic joke. Now, one of the reasons why people are talking about this tool is the fact that there aren't many content restrictions. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So we can say Mickey Mouse holding a gun, and there you go. We can say Barack Obama holding a press conference in a war-torn country. An image looks pretty darn realistic for how quickly it was created. Now, with all of that being said, this image generator is really fun to play with, but it does pose some challenges if you want to use the images in a professional workflow. The first big challenge is the fact that getting consistent characters is really challenging. If you want the same character again and again, unless it's a celebrity who has a recognizable likeness, which you really don't have the right to use, it would be very tricky to get a consistent character again and again. It's also really challenging to get consistency in style. So if you want the same color grade again and again, this is probably not the tool for you. There aren't any advanced art direction tools either, so no in-painting, no upscaling. You basically are beholden to just typing in text and getting the image. And finally, the images are really small. So the image that we generated here is only 1024 by 768. So it's really small and kind of hard to use in a professional workflow. So if you wanted to use these on a professional project, you would have to upscale the images. However, I feel like having the ability to generate AI images directly in platforms that people use every single day is more than likely going to be the way that the majority of people are introduced to AI tools. In AI video news, we came across some tips for generating cinematic AI footage inside of Runway from Nicolas Neubert. Nicolas is one of the most talented AI video creators in the world, and he's actually a creative director at Runway. Let's take a look at some of his tips, and I want to basically walk you through some of the guidance that he shared. So to follow along with these tips, go over to the Runway website. Once you're there, go ahead and click Try Runway. And now go to Get Started. So to generate, I'm just going to take an image. I have this image of this man in Central Park. I'll drag and drop it into the window here and let it upload. So the first tip is to generate 3 videos without any prompting. So let's go ahead and do that. 1, 2, 3. So the next tip is to analyze the videos for what went well. So let's take a look at the videos here. We have number 1. Okay. Honestly, pretty realistic. It really looks like there's kind of some handheld camera shake here. And let's look at number 2. It looks really realistic, especially with the lens flare coming through the leaves there. It really does come across as pretty darn realistic. And finally, we have shot number 3. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And the next tip is to prompt your videos in the right direction. So again, inside of Runway, you need to prompt using both the camera movement and then simply describing the action that you want to see. So for this image here, we can say slow zoom in, woman looks around a sci-fi room. And we'll change this to 5 seconds and go ahead and generate 3 times. Okay, let's take a look at our videos. So we have number 1 here, pretty good. I don't really know why there's like all these like sparkles on the screen, but pretty good. We have number 2, slow zoom in, pretty darn good. Lots of consistency in the character's face as it gets closer. There's not a lot of life in her face, so I probably would adjust the prompt to have her doing something specific, but pretty good. And then we have this shot here. This one looks pretty good. I like the way the light is casting on her face and creating the shadows. It looks really realistic. The next tip from Nicolas for creating cinematic shots is to use the term muted colors, low contrast, and that will help to keep the colors more consistent inside of your video. So let's go ahead and generate a few videos using that prompt. Okay, let's look at these results. So we have number 1, it's really good. The color is pretty darn consistent. We have number 2. Just changes there at the end for no reason. That's a great hallucination. And then we have number 3. It's like some trippy dream sequence. So a lot of times the movement inside of Runway can get a little wonky. So Nicolas's next tip is to use the term static camera natural movement to create camera movements and have just your characters react in a more realistic way. So we'll do the exact same prompt as before, but just change the direction at the beginning. Let's take a look at these ones. So we have number 1. Okay. We have number 2. It's pretty good. Just walking around the room. Looks very nice with the parallaxing. And we have number 3. And this one did a really good job. I like the camera movement. It seems very cinematic. I'd probably stabilize her face in a face swapper just to keep it a little more consistent, but it did a pretty good job. The next tip is really just to keep prompts short. Instead of creating really long drawn out prompts, try to keep it to around 1 sentence long. And the final tip that kind of embodies all of these tips is to start small and then work your way from there. So rather than having a really long prompt and slowly taking away, start with a really short prompt and add to it as you go. You can learn more from Nicolas Neubert in a podcast interview we did with him a few months ago by clicking the link below this video. Nicolas is a really talented artist, and I definitely recommend following him on X. Runway also released their Gen 3 Turbo model, which is way faster than their normal Gen 3 model. Here's how to use it. All you have to do is go to the Runway website, go up to the top left corner and select Gen 3 Alpha Turbo. So I'm going to go ahead and select it, and we'll go to generate. And to compare and contrast, I'm going to go ahead and select the alpha version and generate that as well. So in about 10 seconds, it generated this video clip here. The other one is not even at 20% yet. You can see we have the shot of this dog at the beach, and honestly, it looks pretty darn realistic. Gets a little weird with the movement there towards the end. It seems like the dog is kind of stretching a bit, but not too bad. And let's compare that to the video that was created in the regular version of Runway Gen 3. So same image, different model. We'll go ahead and play back. Now, I would say the quality of the video that's coming from the normal version of Runway Gen 3 is way better. So if you have time, I would definitely recommend just continuing to use the normal Gen 3 alpha version. But if you're in a pinch and you need videos really, really quick, Gen 3 Turbo might be the way to go. If you're digging AI film news so far, I should let you know that we have a challenge going on here at Curious Refuge. We send a weekly newsletter full of the latest AI film news directly to your inbox, and we're doing a 30-day challenge where one lucky subscriber to our newsletter will receive a free MacBook Air M3 just for being a subscriber on our newsletter. You can subscribe to our newsletter and get lots of goodies sent directly to your inbox by signing up over at Curious Refuge. There's a link below this video. And speaking of winning, I'd like to officially announce our AI advertising competition in partnership with Pika. This is your shot to win $5,000 by creating a short 30-second commercial for one of 3 brands. We also have some amazing judges for this competition, including Dave Clark, who's the instructor of our AI advertising course. We have Nick Cleveroff, who is the COO of Native Foreign and the mastermind behind that Toys R Us commercial that went viral just a few months ago. We've already seen some really impressive submissions so far, including this commercial from the Dora brothers, who are one of the best AI advertising directors out there. I think they did a fantastic job, but you could totally do something super impressive as well. You can go check out the contest page over on our website. There's a link below this video to get all of the rules and download the assets that you'll need to create an amazing advertisement. Also came across a really interesting tip over on X from Dreaming Tulpa, who is the mastermind behind the AI art newsletter. Basically, they created a generative color palette tool that allows you to get consistent colors inside of Midjourney. Let me show you how to use it. So it all starts inside of this color grid generator. You can also generate a color palette in a different tool like Coolers if you want to. So I'm going to go ahead and make this 2 rows. We'll select the style to be monochromatic. And all you have to do is just click on this Regenerate Colors button to regenerate the colors again and again. So we can just click on this until we get a color palette that we like. Let's go with, I like this warm tone here. I'll right click and save the image to my computer. We'll call this orange tone. So now we'll go over to Midjourney and try not to get distracted by how cute these dogs are. Look, that one's just sleeping at the beach, so cute. So all you have to do is type in a prompt. We'll say a woman in a soda ad. So now we need to bring in our image. So we'll click the image icon, select this section here, and we will bring in our image. So there we go. You can select the image there and make sure you click on the paperclip icon. If you select this image icon, it will pull the composition and it will just look weird. So we'll do --R5 to generate 5 images at a time. Go ahead and click enter. Okay, so let's take a look at our results. So you can see that all of these images are monochromatic and they're all in the same color grading style. Now, some of these are a little too over the top with the color grading. I definitely think you want to have more skin tones and variety in the color, but it's pretty amazing that all of these feel like they live in the same color grading universe, especially if you kind of pushed it in a certain direction inside of a tool like Photoshop or Adobe Lightroom. You would really be able to get a lot of consistency from image to image using this technique. In Google News, there was actually a report this last week that the Justice Department is defining Google as a monopoly when it comes to search, and they're actually thinking about breaking up the company to make search more competitive. This is obviously huge news for Google, as search is the primary driver of revenue to the company. But we also have some other Google news this last week as it relates to AI. They are beginning the rollout process of Gemini Live, which is basically their version of ChatGPT's live voice feature. Google Gemini Live has the ability to look around the world and you can basically have a back and forth conversation to ask it questions about what it sees. And I imagine that Google wanted to release this now to be ahead of Apple, that will be announcing even more AI integrations with OpenAI whenever they release the new iPhone in just a few weeks. In music news, the team at Curious Refuge partnered up with the band Smashing Pumpkins to translate their material into other languages. Essentially, they were trying to announce a new tour, and they used AI to translate their messaging with lip sync in multiple languages. It was a really fun experience to work with the band to create these assets, and we saw a lot of positive press online. If you live in the Los Angeles area, I want to invite you to our first official AI filmmaking meetup for Curious Refuge in LA. We're hosting it at the All Seasons Brewery at 7 p.m. on August 21st. That is next Wednesday. There will be tacos, beer, and skee balls, so what's not to love? I'm actually curious if X can generate an image for this event using Flux, so let's go ahead and see. And the answer is no. But I'm really curious. No, make the poster design. Actually, this is not too bad. AI filmmaking meetup, All Seasons Brewery, August at 7 p.m. Well, we'll have more information below this video, or you can visit our AI film events page to see all of the AI film events that are happening around the world. The Curious Refuge team will be at quite a few AI events over the next few months, including the Venice International Film Festival in London, so be sure to check out the events page on our website to see if an event is happening near you. And now it's time to hop into our time machine and take a look at the technology of the very near future. First off, I want to showcase this really interesting white paper for a tool called Avatar Pose. Essentially, this is a character motion tracking tool that takes reference video of a character interacting, and it basically creates the rigged points for that character. Now, that's not new technology. There's tools like Move AI that can do character tracking. But this one is really interesting because it is really contextually aware of multiple characters interacting with each other. So for example, if you have a character giving a hug to another character, it's going to understand the physics and the dynamics of what happens to the points that aren't seen by the camera. So it really intelligently understands how humans interact with each other. The next tool really showcases a big leap forward when it comes to 3D textures generated on objects. So text gen essentially allows you to type in a prompt and get some realistic textures. And they have some really interesting examples over on the site. For example, we have this shot of a golden lion that looks pretty good. I mean, lots of fidelity in that model. We also have this 3D model of a medieval clock. You can see that there's all sorts of ornate details and wood grains, and it really is a big step forward when it comes to overall quality. We also have this 3D model of an Iron Man inspired backpack, which is pretty cool. I kind of want one. And we have this model here of a race car. There's all sorts of really interesting examples over on the link. I definitely recommend checking it out if you want to see some really impressive 3D models. The next white paper I want to show you is called Fast Sprite Decomposition from Animated Graphics. That is a lot of words. We really need to work on the title for this one. But essentially, this tool allows you to upload a motion design sequence and it will separate it into individual layers. Now, this is really interesting for multiple reasons. The first is it just makes it simple to do some easy rotoscoping tasks. The second is it allows you to reverse engineer ads. So if you work on a large team or in a branding department, it could be really easy to drag and drop and change the text or images inside of an advertisement. I can imagine a world where you have these individual layers and you're able to go to a third-party application like Adobe After Effects and pick and choose the layers that you want to use. The next tool that I want to highlight is called Procreate, Don't Reproduce. Essentially, this tool is a system designed to keep you from being able to generate imagery that matches the imagery that was used to train a model. So one of the criticisms of image generation tools that are out there are basically you are almost able to generate images that are exactly like the training data. But if a large company wanted to push their users away from generating images or artwork that resembles existing images or artwork, this type of technology is setting the stage for companies to be able to restrict certain generations using AI technology. And that brings us to our AI films of the week. The first film that I want to highlight is called Requiem by Machine Mythos. Machine Mythos makes some of the better AI films that are out there. This film is a really interesting one of a man that basically shoots and kills a deer, and it really showcases not only really good storytelling and consistency when it comes to color grading, but it also has some really good sound design and lip syncing as well. The next project I want to highlight is a Maybelline commercial concept created by David Blagovic. It really showcases fantastic editing, art direction, and many of the shots are indistinguishable from shots that you would typically see inside of a commercial project. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of AI Film News. Of course, you can subscribe over on Curious Refuge to get AI film news sent directly to your inbox. When you do, you will be entered into the competition to win your very own MacBook Air. And you can go to our website to learn more about the AI advertising competition. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode. Be sure to like and subscribe here on YouTube if you want to get the latest tutorials and news directly here on the platform. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.